Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Girl Talk. If you're new here, my name is Sawyer.
And I'm Liz.
And we're so excited that you're here. Last week, we got together with our friends Olivia and Isabel. Had such a fun time. We were talking about the importance of friendships, and we loved getting to know them.
They're so sweet.
Yeah, so we're excited about leading us through another episode. But Liz, just to do a recap, how was your weekend?
It was good. I just went to the beach, went down to Hilton Head with my family, so.
I feel like you're always at the beach.
It's my favorite place, so
yes.
I
love
it.
your nails too. Show the camera your nails.
It's got my nails done. Green.
Yes.
Neon, kind of.
And your shirt, what does it say?
Joshua 1:9. Be strong, be brave, be fearless. You are never alone.
Love it.
So.
Love it. Mine is plain. So we're
got
rocking
a little neck scarf. Love it.
Trying to change it up a little bit. But hey, so we're gonna dive in. We're gonna talk about doing challenging things today, and how to, if it's something that's super scary to us, how do we break it down and walk in it confidently, just being our unique selves. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about something that I experienced. I was a little older than some of you watching. I was 9th grade, and it was my freshman year of high school. And I went and got this test done by a neuroscientist. Neuroscientist
fancy.
Sounds scary, but I promise you it was not a scary test. It was honestly one of the most fun tests I've ever taken. It was like with blocks and puzzles and colors and all sorts of stuff. And
Oh, fun.
I was like, this is
Super
just,
interactive.
Yes, just a fun test. It wasn't like
It's like a game.
timed
almost.
and stressful and anything like that. So anyway, but really what it was is just to see how my brain worked. And so took the test, and they talked to me afterwards. The neuroscientist, I guess, is who it would be.
Okay.
His title.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, he was like, hey, here's a map of your brain. This is what it looks like. And this is kind of how you learn things and how you perceive things and which side of the brain you use more than the other. It's really interesting. But really, at the end of the day, I learned that I can be overwhelmed really easily. Mm-hmm. And not knowing that, I can go into situations and stuff happens and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I'm not smart enough. Like, this is just, I'm not capable of doing what people are asking me to do because it seems so big in my eyes, and whether it's scary or super intimidating, and I immediately shut down. But after this test that I took, I'm talking about my brain and realizing, okay, it's actually how I'm created, not to be overwhelmed, but to process things, and to take a longer time to really figure out, okay, this is what's happening, this is how I feel, or, what the details are and all that kind of stuff. And so I really wanted to talk about that, and I don't know, more in terms of, for those of you who are watching and you're on online school, and honestly, I don't know how you're doing it, but let's say you go in and you have a bunch of your classes. Like, I was homeschooled, so I had all of my work for the week given to me in one day. Okay. And so I'd look at it and be super overwhelmed. Feel like, okay, I can't do this. Like, I've only got 1 week.
Right.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, how do I break it down? Because if it's super overwhelming, my brain needs to mentally break things down, right? So I would pull out my planner, my calendar, and I could draw boxes or make lists or separate things and separate them by day or subject or whatever. And when I did that, it made things more attainable for me to do. And so I just wanted to talk about, because I know that going into online school can be super scary for some of you guys, and when you actually know your brain and how it works and break it down, it can be really helpful in moving forward and knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. Don't be insecure about anything. Right. It's just,
it's just how you're made.
How you're made,
right.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts. But Liz, I know you have things you would like to share.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for sharing. It's super insightful. I'm sure some of you might have been homeschooled before going to middle school. Or
all the
homeschoolers,
give me
I was homeschooled for 1
emoji.
year. 1 year before I started kindergarten, so it didn't really count, but that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then kind of going off what she was saying, I'm glad that you know how your brain works, because I think it's very important to understand your feelings. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have all these feelings and you don't even know how to identify them.
Yes.
So I think that's a great first step in just trying to conquer things and
Yeah.
like get through certain situations.
Yes.
Because if you can identify those feelings, and it helps you kind of see how you're reacting to them and stuff.
Yes.
So again, like we were talking about, some of you guys might be going to middle school for the first time. Some of you guys might be going to middle school online for the first time, and that can be super scary and really crazy and just so many unknowns. And it's totally okay to be feeling anxious about that or worried
Yes.
or even excited. Maybe some of you are excited to be at school. Online at home. But there's always like those thoughts of like, am I gonna pass this test? Like, is my teacher gonna like me? Am I gonna fail the class? Like those kinds of things. Or like socially, like, will I be able to make any friends if I have school all online?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. So if you can identify what those feelings are,
Yes.
and then just know that that's how you're feeling, then you can kind of work your way through that.
Agreed.
And then it's also important to realize how those feelings are affecting your actions. So if you're like super anxious and like really scared about middle school or having classes online or just anything in your life, relationships, anything like that going on, it's important to realize like what is happening to you, like not only on the inside, but how you're reacting on the outside. So that can look like not wanting to hang out with your friends, or like pulling away from them, or like getting into more arguments with your parents, or just like all of a sudden you're suddenly not doing good in your favorite subject in school, like that kind of thing.
happening?
Or it can even be like physical symptoms, like you get headaches a lot, or like tummy aches, like always feeling nauseous, that kind of thing. So those feelings can really show up in your life as actions.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to be able to identify them and then
Yes.
be able to work
And
on them.
honestly, for me, I'm not a huge emotions like feeler person, and so it can be really hard for me to identify what I'm feeling.
Right.
But I know that there's like a wheel, a color wheel
Yes.
that you can Google,
Yes.
and
But
it's
it's
on
like-
the
It's
outside.
so it's like it's an emotion wheel, and basically it has like just different layers of the circle, and the outside layer has like more broad feelings, like I think it's just like happy, sad, angry, stuff like that, and then each circle on the inside like gets to like a more specific emotion. So you can kind of like, if you don't know how you're feeling, you can look at that wheel and then be like, okay, I'm feeling sad, and then it's like, am I worried, like am I whatever, and then you can kind of figure out exactly what you're feeling. But yes, I love the emotion wheel.
Yes. My dad showed it to me one day, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I can figure it out.
It is.
But it's weird because I can feel it, like physically, if it's in my chest. Typically it is in my chest. I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling. And I always feel like I need to like work it off, like go on a run or walk or something. But it's like, okay, I actually need to feel the emotions at the same time because it's a part of who we are.
Exactly.
But
and that's like how God made you. He made us with all these emotions, and he wants us to feel all of them. And that was what was cool about Jesus too, is like he came to earth like as a human. So any feeling that we have felt, he also felt. He knows.
Yes.
So sometimes it can be kind of hard to like think about Jesus, like, oh my gosh, our Lord and Savior, but he was a human like all of us. Exactly. So he felt everything we did.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's kind of comforting to
I
know.
love that. Yes. So really what we wanted to do was talk about some steps, like just little encouraging steps you can take if things are super scary and overwhelming to you right now in this new season. And so the first thing that I would say is know your brain. So that goes back to what I was sharing. Sometimes we get insecure about things that we perceive as weaknesses in ourselves when really they're not. It's just how we were created and learning how to kind of direct what those characteristics are. So like in my instance, it was being overwhelmed easily, but really that's just, I need more time to process. So if I know, okay, in the back of my head, someone asks me a question and I'm like, you know what, give me 5 minutes to think about it and then I'll get back to you.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, okay, I understand how my brain is working in this moment, and how I respond comes from just understanding myself.
Right.
And number 2, I would say, so first one is know your brain, and number 2 is create stepping stones. So something that I actually helped my mom with one time, she was kind of overwhelmed about a trip that we were taking and what she needed, and so I was like pulling out the piece of paper. I was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a chart. So we're like Peru. We were going on a missions trip, and so I sectioned off. I created boxes because I'm like, I know how to do this.
Exactly.
So I created boxes, and we like color coded it and split everything up. And so she was like, this is very helpful because we're breaking it down. So in that case, it was me helping my mom create these stepping stones. But maybe in your case, it's like, okay, Mom, you know me so well. Can you help me?
Right.
Or Dad, can you help me?
Right.
Or if you have an older sibling that knows the ins and outs of how you are, ask them.
Right.
It's really, really helpful.
Yeah,
But,
for sure.
yeah. So know your brain, create stepping stones. Liz, what's number 3?
And then the third one is going to be reward bravery. So basically, at the end of the week, or maybe even the end of the day when you're going to bed, if you did something like awesome, like studied more for a subject that you weren't good at, or like made a new friend, that kind of thing, you should reward yourself. And just kind of just give yourself like a little pat on the back and just like be thankful for all those different things, and just be able to celebrate yourself, because if you're like in a good space and happy with yourself and proud of yourself, that's gonna kind of show when you're around others and to your family and your friends and that kind of thing.
I know for me, when I started college, my first semester was really difficult just because it was really new and I was meeting new people and didn't really know anyone going into it. And every Friday, I would drive home and I would take the back roads versus like the highway. So drive home, roll the windows down, like every once in a while I'd stop at Target and like walk around, but that was my way of kind of rewarding myself. Like, okay, you made it another week, like good job. But yeah, like Liz was saying, even if it's something like, you know, socially, if you're meeting a new friend, like give yourself a pat on the back. That's really, it can be hard stuff for some of you.
Throw yourself a little party.
Yes.
You deserve it, you know?
Yes. But I enjoyed this.
Me too. Me too.
This was a good chat,
So
talking
fun.
about our brains and doing hard things.
Yes.
But I think another thing before we conclude, I want to say this, that nothing can really prepare you as well as experience prepares you. So just walking through life will help you understand like how you are and gauging how you move forward. So.
And what's really cool about middle school is like you're setting yourself up for like your future self, like in high school and college. So even though you might be going through some hard things or just feeling like everything is super crazy, like that's gonna be super helpful for you in the future because now you kind of know how to navigate that stuff better.
And someday you guys are gonna have a talk show.
Yes.
You're sitting with your friends and pulling stories from when you were in middle school, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I have this to tell.
Exactly.
But anyway, I had fun.
Me too.
This is a good talk.
We loved hanging with you. We will see you guys next week.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.